All right. This is a subject that we taught on briefly, probably about a year ago. I came across some other information as I was studying some different aspects of math. And those that know, I enjoy using math as a demo kit for many things. And I was blessed to see something. And as soon as I see something, I got to formulate it and prepare it and give it back to the believers. Because every time I empty the cup, Allah fills it right back up again. So tonight, we will be covering, God willing, we're going to deal with mathematics, Dianetics, and supreme wisdom. I'm going to show some basic concepts with math, but we're going to apply this to understanding the Hubbard chart of human evaluation. I was blessed to see a pattern, and just probably within 5 minutes of sharing this with you, you will be able to see this pattern that's in the chart that will make processing very, very easy. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay, you'll be able to locate an individual that you're processing on the chart so that you can locate them and apply the correct processing. Okay.
All right.
Here's where we begin. This is Surah 47, ayats number 30 and 31. And this says, in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Or do those in whose hearts is a disease think that Allah, let me get this out the way, that Allah will not bring forth their spite? And if we please, we could show them to thee so that thou shouldst know them by their marks. And certainly thou canst recognize them by the tone of their speech, and Allah knows your deeds. The reason why this right here is so significant, these two ayats, well, specifically ayat number, I believe it's 31. The fact that it shows that you can recognize individuals by the tone of their speech. And does anyone have Science of Survival handy right now at their fingertips? If not, I can just kind of do it off the top of my head. Does anyone have Science of Survival? Okay. In Science of Survival, on page 99, L. Ron Hubbard says the best index to locate a person on the tone scale is by the tone of their speech. So here we have the book Science of Survival in direct agreement with Surah 47, Holy Quran. So here's a marriage that connects tone of speech and tone level. But this time around, we're going to add a couple of other ayats into this discussion to further our understanding of the agreement between Scientology and Islam.
What page is that again, Brother Lukman?
It should be Science of Survival, page 99, and it should be under the chapter that talks about speech. You have that?
Yes, sir.
Could you read the very first paragraph at the top of the page?
Okay, let me see. Page 99. Okay. 99. All right. 99. Okay, 119, 111, 83, 85, 81, 99. Okay. at the top.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, it says, okay, probably the most accurate index for the auditor of the pre-clear's position on the tone scale is speech.
Mhm.
Here is a generalized manifestation of perceptic communication.
Okay. So can we see how that agrees with the Holy Quran?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So God willing, before the end of the night, not only will we be able to identify the language of the pre-clear that we're working with in order to process them, we will begin to be more mindful of the language that we use. Okay. Because some of the language that we are using is actually keeping ourselves aberrated. But some of us, our language is a flow zero. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is something that we're doing to ourselves through the use of our language. Instead of expanding the diameter of our thinking to increase the circumference of our activity, as the minister teaches us, we are actually reducing the diameter of our thinking. And that will in fact do what? It reduces the circumference of our activity, correct?
Yes, sir.
So just by our language, we are self-limiting our potential. That's why I say words have power, correct?
Yes, sir. Words matter.
Words matter. Now, overview. Here's where we're going tonight, inshallah. What is the relationship between speech and mental state? How can we use mathematics as a demo kit to understand our level of speech and our mental level? And what is the pattern in the Hubbard chart of human evaluations and Dianetic processing? So a quick overview is this. We're gonna cover real basic, and it should only take no more than 5 or 10 minutes, real basic arithmetic. But in this, once you understand this concept, we're gonna use that concept as a demo kit to understand this pattern that's in the chart of human evaluation. Now, for those that have the Hubbard chart of human evaluation, there are, I think, 42 columns. I believe there's 42 columns. This pattern, you can, I'm almost 99% sure, I've gone through almost all the columns. By knowing these 3 little key points, you'll be able to understand a person's location on every one of those columns. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So then through practice, and if you understand which levels of processing to use at which tone level, then you will be able to tell, just based on someone speaking, you'll have a good gauge of where they are on the tone scale, and you know exactly which processing to use based on you talking to them and then they talk to you, and you'll be able to pick it up almost instantly where they are on the chart and how to process them, and where we fall on the chart, so that we have to get our processing too. And then we're going to marry, as always, mathematics, the chart, and the Holy Quran. We're going to marry these all 3 together. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before we go forward? Okay.
The more we can reduce your inputs and the more money you can make. It's my colleague.
Okay, if everyone can go on mute, please. Or was that someone asking a question? Or was that someone's background noise? Okay. Okay, this is, okay, I must have duplicated this. So specifically, we're gonna piece this item apart and see where it aligns with Dianetic Tech. So we're going to look at the concept of in the hearts of the disease, and then bringing forth their spite. And it says, we please, we could show them to thee, and then know them by their marks. Why is that important? So that you can recognize them by the tone of their speech and then know their deeds. So basically what we're going to look at with these two ayat is the connection between the heart, which is really the Arabic word is dealing with the mind, and the disease being those things that took place that caused the engram to begin with, correct?
Yes, sir.
And bringing forth the spite. Well, we already know that sounds like processing. Recognizing people that told their speech so that you can know their deeds. So it's not that we're going to know the individual's deeds, to know that Allah knows your deeds. Basically, one way of looking at that from the standpoint of the tech is our deeds aren't really our deeds. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The things that we do don't belong to us. We are not the author of our coins, I guess you could say. So whatever we wrestle with, these are things that we picked up more than likely as children, and they're still with us now as adults. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Sister Patricia.
Okay, so you said, well, I think you almost answered when you just said that part there.
Mhm.
So you said that the RDs is not RDs. Are you talking about the bad ones, the
Mhm.
reactions that we do on the bad? Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Our compulsions, obsessions, insanities, neuroses, and psychoses,
Mhm.
those aren't ours.
Okay.
Because when you go into the tech, a lot of what we do is based on prenatals, correct?
Yes, sir.
So a lot of this is just based on things that happen that we had no control over.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay. It's just that we still act these things out now as adults.
Still implanted.
They're still there.
Yes, sir.
But we're going to use the Holy Quran to give us a better understanding of the tech. And then we're going to deal with the tone scale to make that chart so easy to navigate that you're almost, because some of us look at that chart, and the chart I'm talking about is the one that comes in Science of Survival. You look at that and you say, that's a lot of information, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Give me 20 minutes and you won't even think that any longer. I can almost guarantee it. Go ahead, Sister Diane.
Assalamu alaikum. So, if I may ask, when you're advising that the things that we go through as children, or into our adulthood, like traumas or anything like that, or engrams, are you stating that we still are not responsible to try to maintain ourselves? I mean, if we have certain things that are bad, for instance, okay, I understand that. However, though, isn't that still our responsibility to keep that in check until we're able to get it completely in check, though?
What I'm saying is we're not responsible for the origin of it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're not responsible for the origin of it, but we can't use what's called a service facsimile or a justified thought in Dianetic language. In our language, we would call that deceptive intelligence. We can't continue to do things and say, what I do is because this happened to me in my childhood. No, ma'am, no, sir. What I'm saying is there's certain things that we have to deal with now as adults. We should not continue to do things with the thought of falling back on what happened to me in order to justify what I do in present time. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, it does.
Yeah. We're not responsible for how these things started. Okay.
Oh, I should have invited some people to hear this.
Okay. We're not responsible for the origin. And many of us, some of the reasons why we won't get auditing, and I'm speaking generally, is based on shame and guilt, because we don't want to manifest the things that happen to us. But the minister already told us, I believe it's study guide number 7, he said, get rid of fear and guilt, because Allah already knew what happened to us. So when our letter because everyone here is a registered believer, I would think, or most of us are registered believers, we wrote our letter.
Yes, sir.
Did a 100% righteous individual write that letter, or did a sinner write the
No.
letter? Okay.
Then letter.
The minister said it like this, based on the scriptures, all of our righteousness is as filthy rags in the eyes of the Lord, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's
Okay.
right.
So, but our letter still passed,
Yes.
okay? So what does that mean? When you look in the Holy Quran and it talks about Musa, and it talked about, we chose the meanest of individuals. That Musa killed an individual, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, when you look back in the histories, some of the great messengers and prophets, they had skeletons in their closet, did they not?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and in the words of Eddie Murphy, some of us have cemeteries in our closet. Okay, but the God still called us to do this work.
Mm.
And in doing this work, this is what we can do to wipe away some of the things from our past. Okay. In the heart is a disease. The Arabic word for disease, and is there anyone here that's brand new for the first time, or maybe first or second time? Or is everyone here been here for a
Yeah.
little?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And who is that?
Brother Abdul Iman Muhammad.
Okay. The only reason why I ask is I can't see everyone on my screen, brother, but okay. So what we do is we do word clearing on the Arabic in the Holy Quran. And when we do the word clearing, what you're gonna see is that by word clearing the Arabic, there's gonna be direct correlations between the Arabic and some of the terminology just used in Dianetics. And by doing that, there's an ayat in the Holy Quran where Allah says that He has given us a book explaining all things. Are you familiar with that ayat?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Sir.
And if Allah has given us a book explaining all things, then that has to include the science of the mind. So Dianetics tech has to be in the Holy Quran already. Otherwise that ayat can't be true. Okay. So when you look at in the heart as a disease, the Arabic word is kulubahim maradun. So we break these two words, and now I'm starting to give you the Arabic because I figured out how to find the Arabic letters on a PowerPoint. So the word itself is kalama, that's the root word. And then the 3 letters, now English goes from left to right, and Arabic goes right to left. So I'm including the Arabic letters so that as time goes on, we will begin to understand the Arabic alphabet. And so that eventually we can each get our own Arabic dictionary and then just do the same thing that I'm doing. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and we just reproduce this. So when you look at the Arabic, these 3 letters, this is Q, this is L, and this is B. QLB. Okay, in Arabic you have what's called a triconsonant root, and then when you add the kasra, the fatha, and the dhamma, those are your vowels. And by putting the vowels in different places, you change the word slightly, but they're all derivations of the same root word. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Okay. Is Sister Sultana in?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
All
Assalamu alaikum.
right, well, salam. Correct me on my Arabic if I make mistakes, sister.
I'll do my best, inshallah.
Okay, so the word kalaba in Arabic, it means the heart, it means mind, it means soul, but it also means the best part. So now you take that word best part, now you go to Lost Found Muslim lesson number 1, why isn't the devil settled on the best part of the planet Earth? That lesson takes on another level of instruction now, would it not? Okay. So now if you look at this, if you take devil to equal the reactive mind and the best part to represent the mind or the analytical mind, and the earth represents the physical or the messed body, then you can say, why isn't the reactive mind settled on the best part of the earth? The best part of the earth, the physical body, would be the mind, correct?
Yes, sir.
So now if you go through that lesson, you'll see Dianetic Tech. Because the earth is supposed to belong to the original black man, correct?
Yes, sir.
Meaning what? We're supposed to have control of this thing. And knowing that he was wicked, there would not be any peace among them. Talk about who? The reactive mind. We have to put him out in the worst part and then keep the best part preserved for ourselves.
Ever since we met.
Since we made it, okay? So now the lessons begin to take on a whole nother level, because you can look at each lesson and say, wait a minute, I can see the tech. So when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said our supreme wisdom is like a safe full of riches, but we lost the combination, well, the tech allows us the opportunity to open this door and get some of these jewels out now. Okay. So heart is kalaba. Now, disease is marida. The actual Arabic in the Holy Quran, the word was maradun, but the root word is marida, which means to be ill. Okay. In the heart is a disease. So when you have the word nafs, which is another word in Arabic from the Holy Quran that means mind, when you have nafsi maridun or nafsi marid, that's the Arabic that means psychopath. And the literal translation is sickness in the mind. Okay, nafsi marid. And interesting is, when you look at the word as it's spelled in the text, Holy Quran, maradun, M-A-R-A-D-U-N, the word M-A-R-A, Mara, is the word for devil in Buddhism. Okay. If you watch anything dealing with Buddha, and a good movie to watch, and this movie came out in 1992, if I'm not mistaken. No, it came out before 92. It was called Little Buddha with Keanu Reeves. This was way before Matrix. And it's actually a very good movie about the life of Siddhartha Gautama, or the Buddha. Okay. The next part of the ayat says Allah brings forth their spite. Okay. So now when we look at this in Arabic, go ahead, Sister Peggy.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wow.
Why is the D, why is there, the D is capitalized in the middle of a word?
Good question. Good question. When you look in Arabic, Arabic has two types of D's. Okay, so when you have in using it and spelling it, when you transliterate it in the English, one way of discerning between the two D's is to do one lowercase and one uppercase so that you know which D you're talking about. Like there's two different types of S's. There's two different types of T's. There's two different types of H's. So for example, if I say, like the word Mahdi, you see how I emphasize the H, Mahdi, okay? Mahdi is different than Lahdi, two different H's. So Arabic has some letters that English doesn't, and by using upper and lowercase, that's just how I discern between the two. But I was hoping that someone would catch that.
Okay,
So thank you, Sister Peggy. Go ahead, Sister Sultana.
Oh, yeah, I was looking at the spelling you had for cold. So there was only one vowel sound over the kaf, over the kaf, there was a vowel, but there was not vowels over the lam and the ba.
I didn't put the vowels in. Those are just the consonants.
But didn't you have a mark over the kaf?
No, the ka, it has two dots over the top of it.
Oh, I couldn't see it very clear. Sorry. Okay, I was
That's okay.
driving.
That-
Oh, I
that's not
see
a
it now.
problem.
Okay, yeah, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. Okay,
That because wa and ka have that loop,
right.
and wa doesn't have the dot. So
The-
that's just to discern between the two, but
Right, yes, exactly.
but
Uh-huh.
but thank you for bringing that up, because that's
So-
relevant as well.
So is it actually the root word is kalaba? Is the root word not code?
The root word based on the dictionary is kalaba,
Okay,
but the triconsonant root, meaning just the three consonants, is KLB.
ka. Okay,
So you wouldn't pronounce it kalb, you would pronounce it kalaba.
right.
Mhm.
Yeah, when you read it, when Allah speaks about the heart, a kingdom heart, he'll say the code.
Oh, the kalb, that's just the consonants when they're all together. Yes.
Right, exactly. Okay, okay, inshallah. Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. So how many of us have learned something new in Arabic today? Praise be to Allah. Okay. Allah brings forth their spite. Okay. Now, I'm not going to try to pronounce all this Arabic because my pronunciation is not that well. But I can use a dictionary pretty good.
Brother Lukman,
Yes, ma'am.
I was writing stuff down, and the last one, Nafsi Marid, if I'm pronouncing it right.
Nafsi
What
Marid.
what was that, psychopath?
The literal meaning out of the dictionary, Nafsi Marid means psychopath.
And you
so-
had some parentheses.
Sickness in the mind.
Sickness in the
Oh.
mind.
All right, thank
Because Nafsi also means mind, and you have mind sick, basically it's mind sickness.
okay.
Okay. Now, when you look at this one, the root word is karaja, and the first definition means to bring forth. Okay. If you look at the letters, this right here is the sound kha, K-H. This is R, and this is a J. Okay, K-R-J. Means to bring forth. But it also means to flow out, to educate, to bring someone up, or to extract. Okay. Then when you look at in between this word, you see how where it says Allahu, Allahu.
Mhm.
Okay, that's Allah, obviously, that's Allah. And then the last word is this long word. The root word is dakina, which means their spite, grudge, ill will, or secret hostility. So when you look at this ayat where it says Allah brings forth their spite, wouldn't that be the same thing the author would do to bring forth their secret hostilities?
Mhm.
Isn't that auditing? You're bringing forth the emotion.
Yes, sir.
And at the same time, you're bringing forth someone's emotions. That's called processing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And if they're bringing out the emotion, aren't you at the same time bringing someone up the tone scale?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So can we see how clearing the words in Arabic from the Holy Quran gives us a better, I won't say a better, but it gives us a good understanding of the text? Can we see how they're connected?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Show them to thee. Well, who's the them? Show them to thee. Who? This is the Arabic. And family, let me say this. Let me say this part while I'm here. If any one of you would like the PowerPoints so that you don't have to worry about taking the notes and you just want to focus on the message, I'd be more than happy to send the PowerPoint to you.
Oh, okay, all right.
I'll send you the PowerPoint that way, because it's hard to write and listen
It is.
at the same time. So at any time, if you just want the PowerPoint, just send me an email, and I have no problem sending the PowerPoint.
Praise due to Allah.
Sister Jacqueline, did you have something?
I did until you answered the question before I could ask it.
Oh, okay. I guess our radios are working, ain't they?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Okay, this is the root word. This is Ra Hamza Yay, or R-A-Y. Okay, and that means to present oneself to or come into someone's view. Okay, show them to thee. So now, when the author brings forth the emotions during processing, could we say that each valence presents itself or comes into view?
Mhm.
Okay, does everyone see how that connects?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it's like Legion. When Jesus says, "What is your name?" He said, "My name is Legion because we are many," right? He had many devils.
Mhm.
Yes.
And so as Jesus spoke to him, what happened? The devils left him, right? They came out,
Mhm.
okay, and they went into the swine, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's King James Version Bible, book of Mark, chapter 5. Now, why is that relevant with regards to you and I? Because that the fifth book of Mark starts out with Legion in a cave cutting himself with rocks.
Oh.
Okay, and Jesus came to him, and then Legion ran out. So when he's in the cave cutting himself with rocks, how would you translate that in the modern context? Wouldn't that be a flow zero?
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Yes.
So he was in the cave, meaning his own home, abusing himself. Why? Because he had all these devils, yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So when Jesus took the devils out, the devils went into the swine, correct?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Now, the way that I had looked at that years ago was when Jesus took the devils out and put them into the swine, to me, that represented in auditing, what happens is you get to the root of aberrated behavior and you find out that you're not the source of that behavior, and I hate to say it this way, but there was a swine somewhere on your time track that caused the problems that you and I have now as adults, correct?
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
auditor puts that devil into the swine, meaning puts that behavior back to where it started from, showing us that. And then some of us may have had this moment. We say, "Oh my God, that was so and so that said that." And then we realized that it was never us. It didn't belong to us.
Mm.
At that moment in time, what happened? The auditor took the devil out and put it in the swine, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now watch this. Then it said the swine ran off the cliff and fell into the sea, right?
Mhm.
Now, I might be far stretching this point, but falling off into the sea, what type of water is seawater made out of?
S-
Uh,
Salt.
We'll look at the salt water. Could that be a demo kit for the tears?
Mm. Yes, sir.
Because
The tears bubble.
when we get rid of charge, aren't the devils coming out and flowing out?
Yes, sir.
It's just devils on a biochemical level, yes?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, Sister Angela.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum. Happy Savior's Day. When you just talked about the sea and the salt, I immediately thought of the wife of Lot and this pillar of salt.
Mhm.
And upon studying salt a little bit, salt does not have its own flavor, just like a demon needing a host. You know what I'm saying? They go from the man cutting himself in the cave
Mhm.
to the swine. The
Mhm.
demon manifests themselves in the host. And the salt, for me, what the sea is, it is exaggerating or aberrating the person, something that could be minor, is almost like being re-stimulated or keyed in.
Mhm.
Something could be minor, and once it's keyed in or re-stimulated, it's made very major. When normally it could have been something that was dealt with very non-emotional. I'll say
Mhm.
that.
It's funny that you say that because I remember Sister Dr. Ava, may Allah be pleased with her. She gave a definition or explanation of Lot's wife turning to salt. And she said, when you look, and I'm paraphrasing it, she said, but when you look at the fact that salt is a preservative, she said that her turning to salt means she became a memory. Now, how can we translate that to what we're using? The way I look at that is Lot's wife turning to salt because she was told not to look back means she reached back and got stuck on the time track and she couldn't get back out of that.
I agree.
Okay.
I agree.
It's like reaching back and wanting to do it one last time. And then at one last time you reach back is the time you get caught.
Well, what about being stuck on the time track?
Huh?
What about being stuck on the time track?
Oh, no,
I did.
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, I did a session
Mhm.
and the pre-clear came to the realization that they've been justifying a behavior for years simply because they were stuck on the time track. So that was a very, for me, salty moment for that pre-clear.
Yes, ma'am. That works for me. Go ahead, Sister Melanie.
Assalamu alaikum. When you were talking about the falling into the sea, I thought of the sea of forgetfulness, so that like it's gone.
Yes, yes.
Sea of forgetfulness, it's gone. You're free, you're clear.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone.
Yes, ma'am.
Your forgetfulness.
That's why we got to get this processing and get
Yes.
our minds right.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it into the sea of forgetfulness. Praise be to Allah. The scripture says, you will know them by their marks. And this is the Arabic. Maybe one day my pronunciation will work, but it's not today. The root word in there is the word Arafah, like Mount Arafat, Arafat. This is an Ain. This is an A sound that you say way at the back of the throat. Ain. Ain, Ra, Fa. It means to recognize, which means to have a cognition, to become aware, to distinguish, and to recognize. So I got recognized twice, but to have a cognition. So you'll know them, you'll have a cognition, you'll be aware, you'll be able to distinguish by what? By their mark. What does the word mark mean? Now, the word mark is sama or sound. Now, this word sound is different than fasting, okay? Fasting is sound with the S that's different than this S. There's two S's, okay? So sound and sound are two different words, two
Can we
different.
sorry, Brother Lukeman, can we give him the pronunciation of those two S's? As
Why don't you do it for us? Because you can probably hit it better than me, Sister Sultana.
Yeah, when you said there's two sounds to each letter, so the S's are seen and sheen.
Right, but the pronunciation, like one S, you see the S, we say with the teeth pronounced, S. The other one is said with the lips pursed. Sod, sown. This is seed, this is sown. Same letter, different, but the letters, thank you. One letter is sod and the other is sheen or seen. Seen and sod for the two.
No, seen and sheen. The
No.
two S's are seen and sheen.
No, sheen is SH. Sheen is SH.
I see what you're doing. Okay,
Yeah.
sod and doll. Okay, I put saw and doll together. That's why. Okay, gotcha.
But I'm just looking at the S's.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah. See, that is just the way the Arabic language is.
Yeah.
But it's a wonderful thing once you start understanding it.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for that.
Well,
Alhamdulillah.
thank you, sister. So the word means to impose by force on someone. So you'll know them by their marks, meaning you will be able to recognize what individual has imposed that force on them. Does that make sense?
Mm.
Because our aberrations are based on what? As an adult, why does he fear now that he's a grown man? Because he was taught to eat the wrong food as a child. One way of looking at that is, as an adult in 2023, here I am as an adult in 2023, but part of my mind is still stuck at the age of 7 or at the age of 8. Why? Because there was someone that enforced ARC on me that caused an inhibition of ARC. Does that make sense? Y'all with me? Or you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So there's an invalidation that took place somewhere back there. And using the language of the tech, they enforce something on us. And like as an adult, if you enforce something on me now, I'll tell you where to go and what you can do. I can handle that very easily as an adult. Is that Brother Salam?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I understand the language.
Yeah,
I understand the language.
Yeah, you understand the language? See, you can't do that now.
Right.
So if someone were enforce something on me now, there's certain ways I can handle it. But as a child,
Right.
when you're 2, 3, 4, and 5, you can't beat up your parent and you can't leave the house. So you have to find a way in your own mind to exist in that environment with everything that's going on, and you have to find a way to survive. So as a child,
Yes, sir.
that was a survival mechanism, but if you do the same thing as an adult, that's called aberration.
Mhm.
And the example we always use, the minister says use, laughter is good medicine. As a child, if you had an imaginary friend as a child, that's acceptable. If you have an imaginary friend now, then there's issues with it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Okay, so if you tell me you were talking to Fido or some crazy stuff, well, we got to get you some processing. Okay, but the thing is, all of us at this moment in time have certain behavior, certain things that we still possess that's based on what happened to us in our past. But the difficult part about it is what affects us the most are the things that we don't remember. Okay. So we should not have the misconception that, well, I remember so-and-so said that don't bother me no more. Well, if you remember it and you know who did it, you're right. That doesn't bother you anymore. But if you still have aberrations, that means you have the effect of what happened, but you still don't know the source. That's the boogeyman in the haunted house that you haven't found yet. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. All right.
Yes, sir.
So the word mark also means to treat unjustly or to wrong someone or to humiliate. So where it says you will know them by their marks means you will know them. You will come to know them based on what? Based on what happened to, not them, based on what happened to us when we were children. Someone imposed some things on us as children, and we still carry that around as adults. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So through processing, one becomes aware of those who treated the PC unjustly. Okay. So can we see how the tech and the Holy Quran are lining up so far?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Okay. By the tone of their speech. Okay. Lahnil Kauli. See the little small words I can handle. Lahni Kauli. Tone of their speech. The word lahni comes from the root word lahan. It means intelligent, understanding, or sensible. Kaula is speech, and it means speech, proverbs, teaching, or doctrine. So we'll be able to determine someone by the level of speech. And again, for those that weren't here at the very, very beginning, I'm going to show you something. It's going to take 5 minutes. And after that 5 minutes, you'll either be able to understand the entire chart of human evaluations, or you'll have a better understanding of it just by understanding this pattern by Allah's grace that I was blessed to see in the scale itself. So Allah says in the Holy Quran, you'll know them by the tone of their speech. Science of Survival says, and we already covered this, so I'm trying to DJ this again. Okay. It's always a doggone word that slips through as many times as I proofread this thing. I gotta get better. I gotta get better eyes. The most accurate index for the auditor of the preclear's position on the tone scale is speech. Here is a generalized manifestation of perceptive communication. And we're going to prove this tonight. So here's where the Science of Survival, L. Ron Hubbard, the Tech of Scientology, has direct ARC with the Holy Quran. Can we agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You will know their deeds. Well, the question is, well, whose deeds will you know? So you got the root word here is Alama. This is where you get the word Alim. So Allah is Al-Alim. He's the best knower. Okay. It means to have knowledge of or to gather information. So when we're processing, what are we doing? Aren't we gathering information?
Mhm.
So when we're gathering information, not only are we gathering information about the deeds of the preclear, but we're going to the root, because the preclear's actions and their words are not based on, they're not the source of that, correct?
Yes, sir.
So we have to see past their deeds and see the deeds of those valences that are behind them, correct?
Yes, sir.
And just perhaps, it will allow us to handle one another with more humility if we can see beyond each other's defects and realize that I'm talking to an aberrated individual.
Mhm.
And even though they're cussing me out, they're not the source of the emotion that they're presenting right now. And if we can look beyond a person's pain and look at the swine on their time track, then we can be a little more compassionate when people come at us the wrong way, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Because I know I would want someone to be compassionate with me if I happen to cuss them out and I say, you know what, I have to apologize for that. That I was in someone else's valence at that moment in time.
That's looking beyond the fault to see the need, right?
Go ahead. That's what I'm talking about. Go ahead, Sister Ania.
Brother Lukman, as you've been talking, I've been wondering, and with each screen, it seems to come, the same question seems to come up.
Mhm.
Is it always a case that whatever the behavior, no matter how bad a person may have been, they could have been an absolute bully as a child, whatever. Is it always a case that because it seems from what I'm hearing is that it's always something else that happened to the person by some behavior that was put upon them or some treatment that person endured that caused them to be aberrated. Is it ever a case when it is absolutely that person's fault?
I would say there is a possibility if there's something organic that's at the root of it. But even when you look at our lessons, it says that Yaqub was an original black man, was the father of devil. He taught the devils to do this devilishment. So devilishment is a teaching. But now here's the thing. And this is Brother Lukman speaking on behalf of Brother Lukman. Because everything's for real. We believe in Allah, but we tie a camel. I'm only going to give you a certain number of times to be aberrated around me.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do my best to get beyond that, to help the person with the thought that there's something else behind the scene. But when you deal with the tech, if I'm wrong, correct me, it's either handle or disconnect. Is that what it is?
Exactly, yes.
Okay, so I will strive to handle, because we're taught, don't judge lest you be judged. But Allah is the patient, and I'm not there yet. I will do my best to help an individual, but at a certain point in time, if your aberration is really, if you're causing a nuisance on my post, then you have to get off my post. Does that answer your question, Sister Ania?
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay. But when you deal with aberrations, if I'm not mistaken, even the suppressive personality, L. Ron Hubbard says, their behavior is rooted in something that happened to them.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Go ahead, Sister Angela.
Two scriptures, I guess, came up from Sister Anya's question. The first one was, how do we see men? Do we see them as trees, or do we see them for who they are? And the second was the slaying of the child by the wise man that Moses was walking with.
Yes, thank you.
And the origin of devil. So in Who is God, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is addressing who is God. And we can't uncover Allah if we don't uncover Satan. Allah acting to the left side of himself. So I think it comes full circle for me, Sister Anya. The responsibility lies on us, and no one else is responsible. If I, especially members of the Nation of Islam, with or without this tool, we have such a prime example in front of us. If we are choosing not to master self, then of course we can be left in a state of aberration, and we are responsible for, because that would make Allah not justified for having the such thing as a so-called, or we experience in hell now. You understand what I'm saying? There wouldn't even be a condition of hell justfully if it wasn't something due to our own negligence and something that we wasn't doing to ourselves. So, I mean, that's the way I look at it. And the other point I wanted to make about striving to help a person or a pre-clear that is severely aberrated and so in the valence of the aberration of engram, that sometimes the thing I know I have to do immediately when I see there's no ground being covered, I have to disconnect. Because when two forces are fighting, there's only one force that's going to win. And not only does L. Ron Hubbard suggest for us not to put ourselves in environments that are re-stimulative, Sister Ava reminded the MGT, when things are not conducive to our growth and it's causing us to, be other than ourselves, we remove it. Our first responsibility, just like with taking the accepting the responsibility of my state, is to, self-preservation. So just as much as I'm responsible for how I'm working my problems within, be it demon circuits or devils, I'm also responsible for fighting for my peace and being justified in keeping it.
Yes, ma'am. And I'll is that it, Sister Angela?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And well, go ahead, Sister Ania, you can go first.
We just wanted to ask, when you say if there's a problem, if you see that you're not, I guess, getting through, or something you said about with the pre-clear, then that you disconnect. Could you explain that a little bit more? Because I'm not familiar with that.
I'm not actually talking about a session like the book one auditing. The best thing we can do when we're seeing that we keep, when I hit the wall and I'm constantly hitting the wall and I see that the pre-clear is not which is different, and I'm gonna strive to explain both things.
Okay.
I would bring them up and bring them out of the session and have a straight wire. And sometimes straight wires, that's what I was talking about. You can have a straight wire with a person that is keyed in or re-stimulated and is not moving. It can turn into an argument. I disconnect from that immediately and remove myself. That's what I mean.
Okay. And just
So you remove yourself, meaning you just bring them out of session.
Well, a straight wire, they're not in session. It's a guided conversation. So they never were in session, to say.
Okay, I guess I'm getting a little confused here.
Okay,
So,
Sister Anya, let me explain like this. I think this might clear it up. First of all, for a person to be in session, they have to be accessible. Okay, so let's say you got two people. You got a person that is accessible that wants the processing, and you have another person that you see as aberrated, but they're not accessible. Okay. Okay, so the person who is in the processing, based on the way I'm understanding Sister Angela, is you're not disconnecting from the pre-clear, you're disconnecting from where they are at that moment in time. You're coming to present time, because there's a methodology. He called it greasing the rails, but there's a methodology. You bring them back to present time, or you straight wire, and you're gaining the attention unit so you can go back and address that aberration. Okay. So you're disconnecting from that aspect of the reactive mind in order to bring them up the tone scale in a different way. If you have person B over here who, I don't want that doggone tech, but you keep causing a nuisance on my post, you keep causing problems in my life, I'm gonna humbly explain to you what your actions are doing and the problems you're causing me. And you can either change your behavior once I've made these things known to you, or I disconnect myself from you. So we're talking about two different people, but the word disconnect is being used in two different contexts. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
yes, and okay, so in the first scenario, I was using the wrong language, so
That's okay.
I was confusing myself, because I meant bring that person to present time. So
Yes.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
yes, sir. Okay, thank you.
Oh, praise be to Allah. Okay, to know their deeds. Okay, so this is what's taking place when we're processing. The word Alima also means world, universe, or cosmos. So really, when we're processing someone, we are learning about that person's world. Does that make sense? We are gathering information about that person's world. The word deeds means to put into operation, to appoint a vicegerent, to put into operation, to place someone at the head of something. So to know their deeds, really you're getting an understanding of their world, their universe, and you're getting an understanding of what individuals on their time track are putting their aberrated mind into operation. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. L. Ron Hubbard said in one sense, I saw him say there's two universes. In one sense, I saw him say three, but really, I like the one where he says two. He says there's the universe on the outside. He says, but the real universe is the universe that's within you. That is a potential universe. And he says that universe is actually greater than the one on the outside. Now, why would he say that? Because the universe on the outside has to abide by what's called the laws of MEST, matter, energy, space, and time, correct? So everything on the outside has to obey law, correct?
Yes.
Our mind is above that law. I'm not saying that we can go do what we want. What I'm saying is our thoughts can transcend law so that we can manifest new ideas.
Mhm.
We can bring forth new postulates. We can say kun fire kun, but if we say I would like to do this, but X, Y, and Z, what we've done is we've taken our thoughts and limited them inside of the mesh universe when we produce the mesh universe in order to manifest the laws of our thinking. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
The mesh is a tool that we use to manifest our postulates. But we seem to think our postulates are confined by the mesh universe. The mesh universe didn't create Allah. Allah created the mesh universe, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. So when you're learning about these individuals that put things into operation, what we're really looking at to know their deeds, we're looking at the deeds of all those valences, those individuals on their time track that did what they did and said what they said, that produced, and I'll give you 3 basic elements of an engram, just the basic elements. You have a valence, you have a circuit, and you have some emotional pain. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay. So when you know the deeds of those who wronged us, what is that? That's flow 1, correct?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, here's we're going to deal with the math. Now, at each point, if anyone does not understand, please raise your hand. I can almost guarantee this. Just by sharing these 3 basic concepts, you're going to look at that whole big old chart in a whole different light. Okay. Yes. We're going to swap now, okay? Yep, no problem. Okay, 3 levels of mathematics. Basic addition. Yes.
You said the 3 basic elements of.
3 basic
What?
elements of an engram.
Oh, okay, of the engram. Okay,
Okay.
thank you, below.
You need me to repeat them?
Oh, sir, I think I have an valence, the circuit, and emotional pain. 3 basic elements of
Right,
the
because
engram.
in every engram you have to have a person, and that person had to say something. Okay, so that's the basic of the engram, and when you add the emotional component, that's called a secondary. Okay. 3 levels of mathematics. Basic addition and multiplication. So addition and multiplication are processes that increase, correct?
Mhm.
Okay, very easy, right? Now you have addition and multiplication with negative numbers. Okay, same operations, but you have a negative number involved now. So there's something in there that negates the operation. So
Mhm.
automatically, when you introduce something that's negative, you're going to reduce it, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then there's 2 properties. Now, this Wednesday, I'm gonna try to tie in the fractions with this at the same time, which we can handle. But in basic arithmetic, you have 12 properties, these 12 rules. And when you understand these rules, then the whole math begins to open up again, because these rules apply from arithmetic all the way up to calculus. You have something called the inverse property, and you have what's called the identity property. Okay. These are operations that nullify.
Mm.
Okay, these are operations that whatever you have brings it to 0. Now, can you already see the tone scale in here? If we're going up the tone scale, those are operations that increase, correct?
Mhm.
As soon as we start negating, what happens? We start going down the tone
Down.
scale. And when you nullify, what did we just hit? We just hit 0, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so can you see it in conjunction with the tone scale?
Yes, sir.
I'll tell you, watch how this works. When you take basic addition and multiplication, okay, when adding or multiplying positive numbers, when you're adding, the result is called the sum. And when you're
Mhm.
multiplying, the result is called the product,
Okay.
okay? And when you work with positive numbers, the results are always positive, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Same principle is true with thought, emotion, and effort. You take a thought and you add on another thought that's positive, what happens? Tone goes up. Take an emotion, add another emotion. What direction does the emotion go in? Goes up. Okay. Now here's an example. Very easy, very basic. 5 plus 7. And 5 plus 2 equals 7. 6 times 4 equals 24, correct?
Mhm.
So now the result for the addition, the number 7, that number 7 is greater than 5 and 2 if those two numbers are looked at independently, correct?
Yes.
And the number 24 is greater than 6, and the number 24 is greater than 4, yes?
Yes.
Yes.
So when we deal with addition and multiplication, really multiplication is just fast addition. When we deal with addition and multiplication, what we're doing is we're increasing.
Right.
Now, when we deal with negative numbers, there's different rules that you got to understand. We're not going to get into the rules tonight. I'm just going to deal from the basic level. So when adding two numbers and one number is negative, the sum or result depends on the number that has a greater value. Now, here's what I mean. If I take 7 plus a -2, that equals 5. Okay, think of money. You got $7 in your account. The bank has a $2 charge. What's your balance now? $5. Okay. So 7 plus a -2 is the same as 7 minus 2. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. So in the math, there's a rule. You subtract the smaller from the larger and then take the sign of the larger number. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Subtraction is the addition of opposites. That stands for thoughts. That stands for relationships. That stands for a whole lot of things. Because if you add something to your life that is an opposite, what you're actually doing is subtracting from yourself. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
That's called invalidation.
Mm.
Okay. But now, take the same numbers. If I say -7 plus 2, what's the rule? Subtract smaller from the larger, take the sign of the larger. So this would be the same as your bank account is $7 in the red. You're overdrawn by $7. You deposit $2 in your account. Well, what happens? You're still in the red because -5. Okay. Same rule applies. So what this tells us is whenever you deal with negative numbers, in order to stay positive, you have to have a larger number that's greater than that negative number. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. You have to have more theta than in theta in order to maintain some sense of wellness.
Yes.
But when you have more in theta, then that's called aberrated, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So at the moment we're re-stimulated, a situation that took place that brought our bank into the negative. Okay, the aberrated mind is like a negative. Does everyone follow that so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So addition and multiplication is increasing, negative numbers decrease. Okay. Now when you deal with addition, if I say 5 plus -5, then that equals 0, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
You got $5 in your account and the bank charged you $5 for your monthly fee, your balance is 0, correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's called the inverse property of addition, or it's also called the zero property. When you deal with multiplication, 5 times any number times 0 equals 0.
Right.
Okay. Holy Quran, Surah 49, ayat number 2 says, "O you who believe, raise not your voices above the prophet's voice, nor speak loudly to him as you speak loudly one to another, lest your deeds become null while you perceive not." The word null means to come to nothing, to go wrong, to be futile, to be frustrated, or to be in failure. Okay, now, I'm gonna summarize this, because if you understand these 3 things, then the next thing is gonna blow your mind. Add and multiply is positive, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
When you negate addition or multiplication, you begin to decrease, correct?
Yes.
When you do the inverse or nullify, you go to 0, correct?
Yes.
So if you're going up the tone scale and now a negative number is introduced, which direction are you now going to start going?
Down.
Down the tone scale until you get to what point?
0.
0. Does everyone follow that?
Yes.
Okay, now watch this. I'm gonna go through these 3 ayats real quick, and we'll hit the chart and then we'll be done. 3 levels, but we're gonna look at it from these ayats very, very quickly. In Surat al-Baqarah, the cow, Surah 2, ayat number 197, it says, "In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, the months of the pilgrimage are well known. So whoever determines to perform pilgrimage therein there shall be no immodest speech, nor abusing, nor altercation in the pilgrimage." So to go on the pilgrimage, there's 3 things that you can't do. Okay. And look how they're connected to speech. The word Hajjah means to advance also. So it means to go on a pilgrimage, but it also means to advance. So can we say our pilgrimage is up a mountain that's 40 miles high?
Yes, sir.
It's tone 40, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Okay. So there is a direct correlation between our advancement up the tone scale and the language that we use. Okay. And part of the reason why we're not advancing up the tone scale is because some of us, if not all of us, are playing ourselves cheap with the type of language we use with reference to ourselves. Okay.
Absolutely.
So when you look at that, this is from the footnote from that same ayah. It says 3 things are prohibited in pilgrimage: Rafath, Fustak, and Jidal. Rafath means foul, unseemly, immodest, or obscene speech. Keep that in mind. That's going to be very, very important. Fusdak, according to a saying of the prophet, signifies abusing, and Jidal signifies contending in an altercation or disputing or litigation. Now, what type of language does that sound like if you had to put it on the tone scale?
Very low tone.
Yes, low tone. Okay.
Antagonism.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Wait till you see it. So the pilgrimage represents the final stage of spiritual progress, and hence the pilgrim is enjoined not to speak words which should be a source of annoyance to anybody. Transpose this to our journey up the tone scale, and it's like saying the pilgrim is enjoined, or the pre-clear is enjoined not to speak words which should be a source of annoyance to anyone. That is the pre-clear and the auditor, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So we can't invalidate and we can't evaluate, correct?
Right.
Okay. Surah 4, ayat 13, speak effective words. It says, "These are they, the secrets of whose hearts Allah knows. So turn aside from them and admonish them and speak to them effective words concerning themselves." Well, what are effective words? Kauli Baligan. speech, teachings, proverbs, doctrine, to which have what effect? To give an account, to attain a high degree, to get someone to a certain point. Well, isn't that processing?
Mhm.
When we're processing, we're speaking effective words, correct?
Yes.
Yes, beautiful connection.
Speaking effective words concerning themselves. Why is it that the Nation of Islam is so successful? Here we have a room of original people, and how do we address one another? Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. Happy Savior's Day. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum salam.
Yeah. Lots of beloveds.
Lots of beloveds. You can't be in this room and be low tone. And if there's low tone, then there's something else that's there. But at least while we're together, what happens to our case gain? It increases, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we want to speak effective words. In the general rules of conduct, it says, be kind and do good to all, correct?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Why is that so important? Because if you disrespect someone, that might be the straw that broke the camel's back. You just re-stimulated them, and what did you just do? Now they pull out something, and next thing you know, you're on the news.
Mhm.
So if we speak a kind word, what's happening? We're not re-stimulating them,
Right.
okay? Has anyone ever seen that movie? I watched Lucy the other day. Man, there was so much. I watched that. I saw so much science this time. But,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I saw that.
the scene I enjoyed, one of the scenes I enjoyed the most is when she comes back and the dude's in the chair getting his nails done or something.
Mm-hmm.
The woman's giving him a tattoo, and she walks in, she goes to the woman, she goes, and let her live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Didn't get re-stimulated. Then she went after the dude that did what he did. Anyway, we want to have our speech to be effective.
Yes, sir.
And then I saw this, the speech of birds. I said, well, let me see what this means from a word clearing perspective. Ayat number 27, Surah 27, Ayat 16. And it says that, and Solomon was David's heir. And he said, oh man, we have been taught the speech of birds, and we have been granted of all things. Surely this is manifest grace. So this is just based on word clearing, okay? Mantikal Tari. The root word is nataka, okay? It means to articulate, to pronounce, to enunciate, a manner of speaking, eloquence, logic, and dialectician. Now, look at pronounce, articulate, and enunciate, and tell me that doesn't sound like the lawyers must speak and pronounce and be grammatically correct.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
Lines up to me, yes, sir.
Okay, so the speech of birds, based on the Arabic, seems as though it lines up perfectly with rule number 3 of the 13 rules of instruction. The laborers must speak correct pronunciation and syllables in past, present, and future tense being perfect.
Mm. And it's the lessons too, Brother Lukman.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Birds. Those them saying the books, because we call the books birds.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
know, because it's like the flight. Yes, sir.
So the word for the word tara, to fly, to birds, it also means to work successfully.
Mm.
So the speech of birds might be the speech of those that are working. Now, when you're working, what tone level are you at?
Oh, high tone.
Tone 20.
20.
Tone 20 is work. That's why if you look at what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, when you're sick, you should do what?
Work,
When you're going through struggles, you should do what?
work.
If you're me, when you're hungry, you should do what?
Work.
But it's just Anya.
Wow, assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
I rushed to get my Closing the Gap book to find this part about communication, and opened right up to it on page 321.
Mm.
When the minister says, And so the highest form of communication is to speak on, ask questions about, argue over what God has revealed to his servant. Perfecting our understanding of what God reveals increases the level of energy. Hearing it, knowing it, and believing it is one level, but understanding it and applying it, that's the work, is the highest level of activity.
Working.
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Page 321.
321, yes, sir, right at the top of the page.
321.
Work is worship.
Who said that? Yes, ma'am. I've heard that before.
Yes.
I've heard
That
that.
Oh.
was the Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba of work is worship,
Mm-hmm.
or another form of worshiping.
Yes, ma'am. I've heard that before. Thank you, Sister Sultana.
Oh, Brother Lukman, may I also add too, on the same page,
Mhm.
Minister Farrakhan says, could only be because I fed on something that caused me to rise above their level of scholarship, not in arrogance, but the eagle sees more than a dove.
Mm-hmm.
The eagle sees more than a sparrow, and the eagle certainly sees more than the beast and the snake. So when God reveals to a servant, he gives him the wings of an eagle, that he can fly high above the scholarship of the world. And this is what the scriptures say, that he will make the wisdom of this world foolishness with God.
Yes, ma'am. Page 321. Sister just gave
Yes,
us a
sir.
stable datum. Thank you,
Oh,
Sister Anya.
yes, sir.
Brother Lukman,
Yes.
it's Sister Sarah.
Yes, ma'am.
Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam.
Just out of cognition, this weekend, we have been tweeting about speaking the language of the birds.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And what Sister Ania just read, we tweeted that quote this weekend. And I think that's just so profound that now here we are bringing this up in our Dianetics class. So just wanted to mention that.
All praise due to Allah. Every individual is building their part of the ship, and then when we come together, we bring our parts of the ship together to produce the mother plane, right?
Allahu Akbar.
Allahu Akbar. All
Brother
right.
Lukman,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a scripture. Part of it is they shall mount up like eagles on wings. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. But the beginning of it, I'm trying to bring it all together. You know, that part of the scripture about what will happen with these individuals, that was my cognition as well about you know, the language of the bird or the book opening, you know, takes you higher above, like I was saying about the airplane, and the higher you go, the thing that seemed big when you first started out on the airplane, and once you start lifting, going up higher, it looks like little toys when you look down. Then you look at it again, it looks like a map. So it changes as you go higher until you in the clouds, you were saying.
Yes, ma'am.
I can't recall all of that part of the verse in the Bible. I just remember those that mounting up like eagles on wing, and I thought that meant, I don't know what I thought it meant, but now I see it can mean what we're saying about. So my question is, I guess you find this effective speech in a lot of areas. That's what I'm seeing. Look like it's not just effective speech in one area.
Oh no, you'll find this in many things. I think this is also connected to why it says the average person speaks 400 words considered well. And that's talking about the average person. That means you have those that are below average and those that are above average. Okay, so now just for the sake of mathematics, okay, the average speed of thought is 24 billion miles per second, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we're all familiar with the formula E equals MC squared. And C represents the velocity of light, correct?
If you say so.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
So when
Yeah,
you
I'm familiar.
take
Looking at
when
it.
you take 186,000 miles per second and you square that, you get 34 billion miles per second. So light squared is a little bit above the average speed of thought, which means the more words we learn, and this is part of the tech and Dianetics, part of the road of going clear is there's a process where they do word clearing. Because when you do word clearing, it's misunderstood words that slows down our processor. As we process words, as we clear the words, guess what happens to our thinking? Our thinking increases. The speed of our thought increases. That's the significance of the book Self-Analysis. That helps us to clear up a lot of the stuff in our mind. And what happens? The result is what? We don't think 24 billion miles per second anymore. We start to go above that number. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Praise be to Allah. 3 types of speech. See what time it is. Okay, we're making good time. Good time. 3 types of speech. It says in the Holy Quran, says, and his hosts of the jinn and the men and the birds were gathered to Solomon, and they were formed into groups. So you got 3 groups here. You got the jinn, you got the men, and you got the birds, correct? Now, if you look in the footnote,
Wow.
to me, the jinn represents lower speech. The men represent middle speech. And the birds would represent higher speech, correct? Would that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
But now if you read the footnote, the birds is referring to a type of people that are considered to be like angels. Okay. So can we say the speech of the jinn, the speech of the men, and the speech of the birds, could that be also connected to the tone scale? Yes?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, put on your seatbelts. Here's where it's going to get real good. At least it was to me. There's a pattern. And all of you will be able to understand this because you already said you understand adding and multiplying is positive, correct? Negating is what starts to drop down. And when you nullify, you bring things to 0, correct? Watch this. This is to me, this is awesome. It might not be awesome to you, but to me, it was incredible. When you look at the pattern from tone 3.0 to tone 40, if you look at the language and the action, and I'm going to show you specifically what I'm talking about, this is going to be the language and action of cause, which is the same as saying kun fayakun, being it is. Okay, I'm going to pull up the scale so we can see the language, and you're going to see for yourself. Tone 3.0 and up is the language that an individual use when they are caused. Does everyone understand that?
Okay.
Language 2.5. 2.5 is boredom, correct? Okay. They say an idle mind is the devil's workshop, correct?
Yeah.
So when we're idle, that's when we go to our idols, correct? When I'm sitting still is when I'm thinking about potato chips.
I caught that. Yes, sir.
Idle mind is an idle mind. And if you notice on the tone scale, on the chart of human evaluation, at this point, you have what's called 32 attention units. This is what L. Ron Hubbard put there, 32 attention units. What is 32 with regards to states of matter? That's the freezing point of water, isn't it?
Right.
Okay. But it's also, Surah 32 is also El Sajda, the prostration, correct?
Mhm.
And that tells us something. That could tell us that when we get bored,
Well, it's actually adoration,
right? But the Arabic is El Sajda.
and that's prostration. Okay,
It
yes, sir.
means it also means prostration. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
At that point in time where we're bored, that's the time when we're about to get frozen and go down tone scale, or we need to do something to be prayerful. Like Sister said, working is a type of worship, correct?
Right.
Okay, so when we're bored, we need to do what? We need to get busy doing something. Otherwise, what? We're gonna get frozen.
Beautiful. Yes, sir.
Because once we're in 2.5, when we drop below, what happens? Tone 2.0 to 1.1, you're gonna notice the language and words that are used on the tone scale in these charts are all destructive.
Yep.
These words are gonna negate all the words that are at 3.0 and above. These words are going to negate. Y'all with me?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
And then when you go 1.0 and below, all this language is gonna nullify. And this pattern flows across the whole tone scale. And you'll understand the specific words that will identify one who's at tone 3.0 and above. There's certain words that are going to pinpoint people that are at 2.0 and 1.1, and there's certain words that are going to point out those that are 1.0 and below. And as soon as you understand that pattern, you can identify exactly on the tone scale where a person is. Go ahead, Sister Sultana.
Yes, I want to share. I was at a sports psychologist conference once, and the gentleman was saying, professor was saying, it's when you're teaching, when your student comes back to you, do you say what they did wrong first, or do you tell them what they did correct first? And most teachers say, yeah, we tell them what we want them to fix first. And it's like, oh, so, it takes I think 11 positives to negate one negative. So he said, whenever they come to you, first tell them all the things that they did correctly and that you liked. Then what you say to them is, were you aware of that thing that you want them to fix? So are you aware that your arm was, say skating? We would say, are you aware that what your right arm was doing? No, because that's what you want them to fix. So you say, oh, okay, so go do it again and put your awareness and consciousness in that arm and see if you can tell what happened. And when they go back and do it that way, they actually fix it themselves and it corrects itself without them even actually knowing it.
Sister Sultana, what was the ratio of numbers you just used?
He said it takes 11 positive to negate one negative. So if you have a negative comment, feedback, then it takes 11 positives to kind of push that negative back down.
The reason why I ask is this: in our lessons, it says this. It says if the holy, I don't know this lesson verbatim, but I'm just paraphrasing. If the holy word were to take place, and when you look at the population of the original nation, wilderness in North America and all over planet Earth, I believe it's 4,400,000,000, correct?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And when you look at the number of colored, it's 400 million. What would be the ratio of original to KB in this holy war?
11 to 1.
Be 11 to 1, won't it?
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. 11 to 1. Go ahead, Sister Denise.
Yes, sir. The proper ways of handling people came to me as we were talking, and also the sister when correcting children. And I guess we can negate some of this stuff that's happening to us in the prenatal period or whatever with the children when we speak to children. And I recall checking children's work, I would write correct. And then if it was something that I wanted them to check, I couldn't put an X there. I just would put check it. And they said I did it wrong. I said, what? That's a check. Did you check it? So it's kind of like trying to get them to think a certain way, and not that it's a X, that means it's wrong, but you just need to check it, because the whole goal is to get it right, to increase. Yes, sir. And so I just couldn't put that X on those babies' paper because I want them to continue to learn. So, well, you got to tell them what they did wrong. No, you just want them to check it. So you can put correct. And it was something trying to do that with the children, and you have to tell them what they did wrong. Do you? What if they find out themselves? Wouldn't it be beneficial for them? So I was just thinking about that. Sister was talking about 11-1. That it takes to negate. That means that's a lot of processing. Just for one. So if it's two, oh my God. Yeah, the proper way to handle people is in full effect.
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I was thinking. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. All right. Now I'm gonna pull up the chart. You have something else, Sister Denise? Okay, you got it. Okay. Well, pull up the chart, and now we're gonna take this and actually see it. That way, we have the mass to go along with the concept. Let me pull up the chart. Let's see, where's my chart? Got it right here. There it is. Okay. We'll get rid of that. Close that. Close that. Okay. Can everyone see my screen where it says processing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is from Scientology 8. Damn, we got a call. Hold out, I'll try to make it back.
3 and Trump 1 response. Outside fire. 107 Broadway.
Oh,
Is on fire.
got a fire. Keep going, I'll be back, inshallah.
107 Broadway.
Yes, sir. Be safe, beloved. I
Yes,
mean,
most definitely.
33 Taylor Street on
I don't
Broadway.
know how we're gonna go on without it, without his computer. Does anyone have the chart? Yeah. So do y'all have any suggestions on what you'd like to continue until he gets back? If inshallah he makes it back. Yay, nay. No winds.
I'm sorry, and I'm covering with my son, so I'm sorry about that, but I'm willing to stick it out even if we sit in silence together.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I wanted to
Sister Karen.
Yes, sir. Praise Allah. I wanted to go to something Sister Angela mentioned earlier, concerning the session she had, or she used the session as an example of having to bring the pre-clear out of the session to straight wire and go back. I know being on the course and a lot is fresh in my mind. When a session ends up like that or is going like that, is a break in the auditor's code where the PC is invalidated or the auditor is re-stimulated him or herself. So as auditors, or as an auditor, when we become auditors, we're not supposed to evaluate or invalidate whatever the PC is saying, we're only there to marshal and control the fire that's going on. So we're not supposed to be stuck on the statement. It's only the mechanical parts. Every session will be successful. So I just wanted to mention that.
Okay, did she come back and correct that she said that the person wasn't in a session, that it was a straight wire?
She brought the session, the PC up out of the session to straight wire the PC and then went back into session. But whenever, if you should never have to do that. And if that happens where an auditor and PC are arguing, she used the word arguing, is a break in the auditor's code.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not supposed to happen.
Is Sister Anya still on here? Because that's not how I thought she came back and corrected that.
Sister Anya?
Was that Sister Angela who made
Sister
that?
Angela.
Sister Angela's the one who.
Right, but she's not, she had to go.
I thought she was still on.
But from what I recall that she said is that so it doesn't get to the point that they get into a back and forth, that she brings them up to present time and then she goes into straight wire. That's what I understood her to say.
Yes, ma'am, that's not supposed to happen. It's not supposed to happen that way. So I just wanted to state that part. We could go back over it once, you know, if we do a part 2 to this, or even to revisit it the next session we have in Shabbat.
Yes, ma'am, because she does the.
I thought she was still on, that's why I mentioned it.
She does the 8 o'clock session, so I think she had to go to
Yes,
closing the gap. Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
So we
ma'am.
will definitely revisit when she can.
Well, Sister Belinda, what was your recollection? Perhaps that will jog our memory.
My recollection was that the person was not actually in session because Sister Anya asked a question about it. And then that's when I heard her say that she was not in session. The PC was not in session. It was a straight wire.
She brought the person up out of the session to present time to straight wire. That's what I heard. I could be wrong, but it is recorded. So yes. I'll stop right there because she's not on. I thought Sister Angela was still on. So praise be to Allah.
Yes, ma'am. So what you say?
That's probably best since we can't recall.
Right.
Yes,
but what we can discuss though, so you're saying that if you have someone in reverie, you should not bring them up to present time, say end of session, and then straight wire them.
There shouldn't be an interruption in the session. It can happen, but it shouldn't happen. If it does happen, it's a break in the auditor's code. So the auditor can be invalidating the PC or evaluating what the PC is saying and stuck on statements instead of the mechanical parts. When you say stuck on statements, you mess up the case. But if you just stick to the mechanical parts, you'll be successful every time, L. Ron Hubbard says. And it could be another situation where the auditor is re-stimulated from what the PC is going through. And then something in the auditor gets upset, and the auditor, that causes the auditor to invalidate or evaluate the PC, and that causes the friction or the argument between the PC and the auditor, where the case would be stalled and both parties will be re-stimulated. So the session will be all messed up. And then to bring a PC out of the session to straight wire, the auditor needs to be straight wired also, or taken into a session, or possibly when there's a break in the auditor's code, the auditor needs to return to the org or to an auditor to have a session or to be straight wired.
Yes, ma'am.
Brother Luke Mosbach.
Praise
Yeah.
be to God.
Praise to Allah.
Alhamdulillah.
Did I miss anything?
Yes.
You missed quite a
Yes,
confusion.
sir, you did.
Yeah,
right.
we were trying to revisit what Sister Angela had mentioned about this particular session, but she's not here. So inshallah, when everyone's back on and she can revisit it, or we revisit the recording and see
Okay.
exactly what was said.
Let's see, before I finish this out, I see some new names, I believe. For the new faces, if you could put your email in the chat, that way I can add you to the email list. That way you will get the link directly as we do our Zoom meetings. Okay, let me catch my breath.
And welcome to the space, to the new people.
Yes. Whew. I still make this mistake in my mind. I'm still in my 30s, but my body keeps reminding me that I'm in my mid 50s. And sometimes the two things don't.
There's no ARC.
Let them vibe with one another in good works, beloved.
These two minds keep warring inside of me. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, real quickly, I'm not going to go through every column, but I want us to look at the language from 3.0 and above, look at the language at 2.5 to 1.1, and then look at the language of 1.0 and below. Point number one, as soon as you process someone and you hear the language will know them by their marks through what? The tone of their speech, correct? We'll be able to place an individual on the tone scale with the language. Second thing is, we will begin to catch ourselves with regards to the language that we are using with reference to ourselves. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the first three, now, if you notice.
Lukman?
Yes.
Which are we in A? I mean, are we in C?
The way it looks on my screen, we're looking at the top part of the chart and we're looking at A, B, C, and D.
Okay.
And we're only looking at 3.0 and above.
Okay.
Then I'm gonna go 2.5 and below. And
Okay.
1 to, that way you can see that, and write down the keywords. Write down keywords that you see. But now look at this. So a very high normal is at 3.0, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that's how many, that's how much free theta. How many attention units? 47, right?
Right.
And we said the 47th surah is who?
Which one was that?
Is that Muhammad?
That's Muhammad, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So here's ways of remembering.
Okay.
By associating the numbers with other things. Okay. When you're at 3.5, that's called the Dianetic release, correct?
Yes.
And that's how much free theta? That's 70, right?
Right.
What's surah 70?
Is that the ways of ascent?
The ways of
Ways of
ascent. So we're
ascent.
going up the tone scale, right?
Right.
Okay. Okay. So now let me go over to medical range. I want to look at emotion and I want to look at affinity. Let's see, wait a minute. Okay, look at column C. Okay, go back. Column C. Good at projects. Key word here, good at. Good at something, right?
Okay.
Capability. You see the language?
Fair amount. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now compare that with the language at 2.0 below. Capable of destructive. See, capable but negated.
Mm.
So everything you're capable of up at the high tones, 2.0 to 1.1 negates it.
Wow.
You see it?
Yes, sir.
Incredible.
And then when you see 0.5 and below, capable of relatively uncontrolled action, basically there's nothing going on down there. What's happening? Being nullified.
Cells alive, so it's not alive. The cell's alive. What's that?
Cells
It's not
alive. It means your body is remember, spiritual death eventually leads to untimely what?
Physical death. That's right. Okay.
Okay. Now let's go over to medical range, emotion, and affinity. Watch the language. Medical, if you look at emotion, exhilaration, eagerness. When you look at the column in G, that says what? Love, strong, outgoing.
Oh, wow.
Those are all describing attributes of Allah. The loving, the strong. Okay. Look at the word tentative advances and friendliness.
Man.
Isn't Allah al-Wali, the protecting friend?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
The 99.
look at this. Tolerance.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a big word.
Okay. Now that's, remember, addition and multiplication brings an increase. Look at the language. These are all positive words that are describing the tones above 3.0, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Okay.
Now look at the language of those below. Resentment, hate, violence, hostility, resentment. These are all actions that negate the upper tones. Then when you get in the lower part, apathy, withdrawal from people. Now what? You're nullifying yourself.
Okay.
Okay, this pattern plus, negative, and 0 goes all the way across chart. Okay.
Wow.
Now watch this. Let's go to speech, the handling of speech and reality, columns K, L, and M. Look at K, strong. A, these, if you look at the top levels, who are they describing?
The cause. The cause, the person that's causing.
But specifically.
Allah.
That's true. Yes.
Okay.
But what example do we have in front of us?
Brother Minister.
That represents this.
Brother Minister.
As you look across the top,
Yes.
look and see how you
Yes.
find ARC with the middle. Okay. Type of speech, strong, swift, full of exchange of beliefs and ideas.
Yeah, that's how minister, all right.
We'll talk of deep-seated beliefs and ideas. We'll accept deep-seated ideas, beliefs, and consider them.
Okay.
Okay. So upper tone, now the Arabic word is al-basir, the best speaker. No, I take that back. Al-kalim is the best speaker, and al-mutakalim is the best speaker. And the one who listens, al-sameh, is the all-hearing. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead, brother Ahmad. I see your hand up.
I was looking at the letters, and if we massage the pronunciation, I can see kalam, which I think is pen. Is that correct?
That's kalam, but it's with a Q. But kalim is with a K. That does mean speak.
It's interesting how that, could be worked.
I didn't catch that, but maybe it's a coincidence.
Just wanted to share that. Please continue.
No, thank you, brother. Thank you for sharing. I didn't catch that one.
Okay.
Now look at how one handles written or spoken communication. On the upper tones, You pass. You
I
pass.
don't believe in coincidences.
No, I know, brother. I know. I'm just saying that. No, this is all by design, brother. It's all by design.
Mhm.
So on the upper levels, when you receive communication, you pass it on. Okay. And it says cuts in theta lines, meaning this person don't graft the message. You keep it, there's no dilution mixed or tampered with in any form, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And then it says, if you go down, it says passes theta calm, resents and hits back at end theta. Don't even come to me with the bull.
Mhm. Right,
Don't
right.
come to me with that. I don't want to hear it. There's a verse in the Holy Quran that says, when an unrighteous person brings you information, what should you do?
Look carefully into it,
Carefully
lest
at
you
it.
harm a people and be sorry.
But you can only do that if you're aware above 3.0.
That's right.
Okay. Why do you say that? Because when you fall below, when you receive the calm, not only do you change it, you only want to deal in hostile.
Right.
You negate the calm communication.
Mhm.
You pervert the communication. There we go, negation. You have the positive, you have the negation. You will stop theta calm and you'll only let the BS go through. Does that make sense?
Yes.
You will only relay malicious calm communication. Now, when you start to fall below 1.0, you don't even want to communicate. You're not even aware of communication. See, positive, negative, nullify. Do you see the pattern?
Mhm.
Okay, let's look at agreement. High in the tone. You search for different viewpoints in order to broaden your own reality. If you go out in search of wisdom, you stay until you return, right?
Right, right.
That's what the minister teaches us.
Mhm.
High tone people aren't threatened by other information. Hence, the reason why the minister gave us the directions to study the text. So individuals that said that the minister was incorrect, I hate to say it, but where are they on the tone level?
Below
Okay.
2.0.
Well,
So now when you deal with agreement or reality, what does it say? Ability to understand and evaluate reality of others and to change your viewpoint. If someone brings you something and it's correct, you have no problem saying, you know what, you're right. Thank you.
Mhm.
You know what, brothers? Thank you for that correction. I appreciate that. In
Mhm.
order to do that, you have to be what? You can't get re-stimulated because someone corrected you.
Right.
There are some times when someone will pass something up to the minister. He gets correct. He gets corrected. Does he say, brother, I'm the Messiah. You don't correct me. I'm the top student. You don't correct
no,
me.
sir.
What do you say? He says,
I
thank you
never
for
had
that correction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You go straight across. I'm telling you. As we're going straight across, as we go straight across, are you picking up points on the time track where you say, you know what, the minister did that. The minister said that. The minister manifested that. Have you seen it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now let's go down. Refusal to match two realities. I don't hear your side of the story. Verbal doubt. Defense of own reality. If you bring me something and I'm wrong, now I get defensive.
Mhm.
Instead of me saying, you know what, brother, you're absolutely right. Thank you. I say, don't be correcting me. Who the hell are you? You don't tell me what. Attempts to undermine others and disagrees. What is that? You are negating the positive.
Right.
Not only that, but now you're destructive of the opposing reality. Now you're trying to set the brother up, trying to set the sister up, trying to set them up for failure. Then when you get lower on the tone scale, now you doubt your own reality. What are you doing? Nullify. Positive, negative, nullify. Do you see the pattern?
Mhm.
Yes, sir.
Okay, then you get real low, it's what? Shame, anxiety, strong doubt of own reality. So when you look at the language, when we start doubting ourselves and speaking bad about ourselves, on one level, we have to realize it's not us that's doing the talking. That's the circuit. So what do? If you have a negative, you have to present another force and power that's greater than the negative.
Right.
You might want to call it self-talk. Or perhaps prayer is a type of processing. We'll deal with a couple more and then we'll wrap it up for the night. Let's look at let's see. Command over environment. Yes, we'll do these last three and we'll wrap it up. Now you can go across the scale at your own convenience and look at the words. Look at the words. Like command was what? High self-mastery. Aggressive toward environment. What does that mean? Aggressive towards environment means you have a mind to master whatever's in your circumference.
Right.
And high self-mastery is al-Malik. Malik Yawmuddin.
Malik.
Another attribute. Does the minister give us an example of self-mastery?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Case in point. Case in point. At Aretha Franklin's funeral, you had the 4 individuals up in the chairs, right? Who was that young sister that was the singer?
Fantasia.
No, not Fantasia. The one pastor was accused of grabbing her.
Ariana Grande.
Ariana. Oh, yes, sir.
Now, if you studied the minister, he don't get caught up in all that.
That's right.
High level of self-mastery. Is he aggressive towards environment?
No, sir.
He masters everything in his environment, right? Remember when the minister was pushing all that weight back in the 90s?
You're talking about,
yes, sir.
You're talking about
videos.
Lifting it,
the
weight.
bench pressing.
Yes, sir.
Did he not master that bull that was on his path?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. He dislikes to control people. There's no compulsion in religion, correct?
That's right.
That's
right. Good point. Good point.
Is he an example of high reasoning? Does he have emotions?
Yeah, he got emotions.
You know?
Yeah.
I'm saying from a positive standpoint. He loves his people, correct?
Right.
Yes, he does.
Does he reason well?
Yes.
Does he have good control?
Yes.
Yes,
You
sir.
can go right down the list here. Let's look at worth. Does he have high worth?
Yes, he do.
Is he creative and constructive?
Yes.
Oh, very.
Does he have good value to society?
Yes, most definitely.
Okay. Let's look at ethics. Does he have very high ethic level?
Definitely.
You know, please excuse the language, but he would be considered a demo kit of Atone 40. He's the best example we have right now of what Atone 40 and above would look like. Okay, he's ethics of root, but refines them higher as reason demands. So this is all 3.0 and above, correct?
Yes.
So the 2.0 and below negates, does the opposite of all of this. Let's look at what they do. Antagonistic and destructive to self, others, and environment. That's the opposite of what the minister would do, correct? So
Yes.
if he's the Messiah, then that would represent an anti-Messiah, I guess you could say. Or an anti-Christ. Brother Brian, yes, sir. You're on mute. Go ahead.
Allah, I don't put my alias out there. Assalamu alaikum.
That's okay, brother.
That's my birth name. I should have changed it back when I got booted. Pardon me. I just wanted, this is Brother Salahuddin out of Chicago, formerly the Muslim known as Brian Stevenson. So pardon that name. So I wanted to just pop on because the number one, the emotional tone scale literally has transformed my ability to have ARC with anyone and build friendships in all walk of life, but also how to choose who to bring close, draw close, and who to keep at a distance where I'm insulated from their effect on my
Yes.
life. Not out of hatred, but identification that, again, it's not them, but it's case. It's the circuit, it's case. So I have to protect myself sometimes out of love so we can maintain affinity.
Yes, sir.
You know, by the way I communicate with you in accordance with the tone scale. I know we haven't gone there tonight in terms of tone spotting and matching, but what I've been learning over the last few years of my study and adding the tech, infusing my supreme wisdom-based life with the tech, striving my best to follow the minister's instructions. I'm not an auditor, but my auditor is a nation. My first auditor is a nation auditor, and when he was processing me, and then I went through a trial, a second dynamic trial. I started on a course, a lineup of life improvement courses at the org. Totally transformed my understanding. Then I did go and receive a 2 intensive life repair auditing at a class 5 org. And when you talked earlier, brother, about going down the track and in terms of all 4 flows and identifying the common thread going all the way back, and brother, it was scary how accurate and how on point it was. So I just want to thank you for this. I've heard of this group, and I've heard of you, Brother Luke Ma, from a distance, but this is the first time I actually had opportunity to join. And I just want to say thank you. And everything you're sharing this evening just further solidifies that there is a group of us who believe, who in striving to follow the minister's instruction, are growing from being men and women frustrated by not being able to get out of supreme wisdom and from the teachings all these years of what we have been trying to, and literally become, like you said, go up the chart and become a bird by Allah's permission.
Yes,
So
sir.
I mean, I've heard so much in tonight. It just increases me, and I just want to thank you and everybody here who's been sharing. And that's it. I just wanted to kind of, before it ended, I wanted to say that. And I've been studying the tech on the foundation of my supreme wisdom seriously since 2017. So just the last few years, but it has totally transformed my life across all dynamics. And I've never been a better Muslim. Never.
Yes, sir.
So I thank you.
Allahu
brother.
Akbar.
I thank you for what you're doing. Yeah, I'm be quiet now because
No, that's
we be
fine,
on here
brother.
all
Thank
night,
you, brother. That's by Allah's grace, brother. Thank you. And now, so you say your name is Brother Salahuddin?
Yes, I'm actually gonna change once I shut up, I'm gonna go back and change the name. But actually, I received my Muhammad with so many of us in the 2 years that the minister issued them. And then when he gave us permission to take our first name, I chose that name because it's what I've intended to chase for the rest of my life. And that is to become a living manifestation of the righteousness of the faith.
Well, you know, Salahuddin is a demo kit for an auditor, if you understand it. Because when he conquered Jerusalem, didn't he surround it? He draw them out, he surrounded it, and then he showered down on them arrows of fire.
Man, brother.
Yeah, study the history of Salahuddin.
Oh no, Salahuddin Ayyub. Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bearing you witness.
And I give you this last piece. Are you familiar with the time of the 20 years and when it starts and when it ends? That we would go through the process of cleansing?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Okay, I'm gonna give this to you real quick. Go read pages 81 to page 83 of Our Savior Has Arrived.
Okay.
The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says, during that 20-year period, the brown germ will be taken from you, your mind will be made clean. And he says that this will start 1,380 years after the death of the prophet, and it would continue until 1,400 years after the death of the prophet. During this 20-year period, the old stuff from the past, the filth and the indecency and the evil, be removed, so that after 20 years, you won't even be able to remember the things of this world. And when you do the math, 1,380 years after the prophet who passed in 632 AD is the year 2012. And the year 2012 is when, for the first time, Dianetics was offered from Mas Mariam in 2012.
Right, because put on the new man, right, it was 2010, but it was 2012, right?
2011 was
Yeah.
it was St. Saviour's, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, the first year that the Church of Scientology had their booth set up at Savior's Day, correct?
At vending, if I'm correct, yes, sir.
At vending. And the minister said this during the lecture. He said, I found something 35 years ago.
He sure did.
So did we make them study 35 to 50 years before they can come among us and do trade?
Stop, brother.
And there's an ayat in the Holy Quran that says, I will lead you to a merchandise that will save you from a painful chastisement.
Yes, it does.
There's something
Come
to
on
think
with the book,
about.
bro.
There's something to think
Brother,
about.
that's a lot to think about. And we're also, it's interesting because we are, excuse me for adding this, but in the cycles of history, as we're taught, the 60 no more than 70 years of grace. And we have the minister walked it up from the coming of the master, and then to the beginning of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad's work absent the master. But then if you look at the minister as the final cycle.
Go ahead, brother, say it. Say it.
60 no more than 70. And starting that, you know, you can start from where? From the time that he started his work, absent the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So we're in that period right now. We're squarely in the middle of the last few years of grace. So anyway, during this time, I'm so grateful to the minister's instructions. And if I can quote it correctly, because it's from a clip that was shared with me by my initial auditor, who's a class 5 flag trained auditor in the nation. And he told me, and now this clip, the minister said, I'm asking us to go and get what Scientology has to offer and see if it won't help us to see the supreme wisdom better, clearer, and more importantly, act so that we can produce a valuable final product. Now that is a perfect quote. I'll share it with you, brother. It's a video actually. You probably already got it. You got so much.
No, brother, I don't have that one. So send it, brother. Send it.
No, brother, this is from the archive. I will share it with you offline. And if I'll check with brother, I'll share it with you directly. But in terms of the entire group, there's some goodies that were privately recorded. That is part of the reason why we have so much heartache with trying to exert our own beingness and doing this with following the minister's because a lot of this stuff is not known widely. So I will share it. And I did send you in the chat my email. Sorry, everybody. We don't got to go.
All right.
Apologies.
So thank you, brother. So we'll finish this. I have a few things to show you and then we'll wrap this up. But now when you look at the language down here, insincerity, smashes or destroys. Remember, upper scale, positive. Middle scale, negates the positive. Lower scale, nullifies. When you read through the scales, look at the language. Look at positive language. Look at the negative language and look at language that nullifies. And when a person uses that language, you can pinpoint them on the tone scale. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
And when we use that language, flow zero, when we use that language with reference to ourselves, then we can find out, you know what? Ooh, I sound like I'm going down the tone scale. I need to do what? I need to work. Okay. Down here, no command of self, no command over environment, suicidal, high liability, needing care and efforts of others without any contribution. Give me, give me, give me, give me. The Most High Elijah Muhammad said, give you nothing. Right?
Yes, sir.
So does everyone see, do the believers see all the pattern?
Yes.
Okay.
Beautifully woven.
Okay, praise be to Allah. And I'm gonna show you 4 quick points. And this is especially for Brother Salahuddin. If you haven't already, brother, all the videos that we do, you can find them here on the YouTube channel, Supreme Wisdom Meets Supreme Technology. Can you see that, Brother Salahuddin? You with me, brother?
He's on mute.
You're on mute, Brother Salahuddin.
I'm so sorry, dear brother. I'm chasing a 2-year-old. Sorry, my
Okay.
son. My apologies. I'm listening though, I promise you. Go with my son. Sorry. Little Salahuddin, please continue. I'm here though.
Okay, do you see the YouTube channel?
May I screenshot it from here?
Oh,
Real
of course.
quick?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm getting
Supreme
permission.
Wisdom meets
Okay,
Supreme
I just did it.
Technology. You'll see that mothership over the volcano. The volcano represents the tech that was, I remember that from the 80s, the volcano
Mhm.
erupting. And this is the union of the two. And this is
Copy
where I
that.
post all the Zoom meetings that we've done. Right now, we got 41 videos. I currently have about 200, so I'm still putting videos on here.
Copy that. Thank you, dear brother. I screenshotted that. I appreciate that. I'm gonna go back
All
on
right.
mute with your kind permission. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Man.
And then for
And put your email in the chat, beloved, so you can get all the updates.
yes. And then
Copy that. I'll do it now.
let me post this. The believers might not be aware of this. So let me do this real quick. As I go through my studies every day, we have a Facebook page, Supreme Wisdom meets Supreme Technology. And I do put stuff on the Facebook page. So if you're on Facebook, you can find us at this Facebook page. Everyone got that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Last but not least, let's end it with words from the minister. So let me pull up a video. Let me hit this one real quick.
Brother Lucan, assalamu alaikum. What is your Facebook page again?
Up, I'll put it right here.
Okay, thank you.
This is my Facebook page. And that right there is a demo kit of a pre-clear and an auditor finding the reactive mind. That's what an engram, that's a demo kit for an engram.
Okay, I got it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay,
Wait.
let me go
Look,
about here.
listen. Human beings can't handle praise. And what God is going to do for us with the supreme wisdom and the supreme technology. Is going to raise us from ignominy to greatness.
Okay, that's clip number 1. Let's hit clip number 2 and we will call it a night.
Because from this point on, every day at the mosque is a class day. We're all in the classroom of God, and we will prepare the study on both sides, the study of the technology and the study of the supreme wisdom. And then once we get to a certain point, I'm turning you loose on this world.
Yeah, that's a stable datum. Any closing questions, comments, thoughts, cognitions, or corrections before we end it? Brother Ahmad, you're smiling so hard, bro, your face looks like it's gonna crack.
I am so pleased. I'm so happy for Brother Saladin finding the space, and for Brother Luqman following his cognition to do this. I invite people a lot, and it's wonderful to see a new face and to see and hear your bright spirit, Brother Saladin. I look forward to enjoying your presence and contribution moving forward, beloved.
Praise be to Allah. All right, family. Anything else before we wrap it up?
Brother Lukman,
Yes, ma'am.
not to stir away too far, but since you know about movies, there was this movie that was at the show probably back in 2014, 12, 13, or somewhere around there. And it was dealing with artificial intelligence. And it was this guy working on this. He was into this computers and he passed away, but he continued to live through the computer.
Transcendence with Johnny Depp.
What was the name of it?
Transcendence.
Okay, thank you.
Johnny Depp played in that one. Yeah, I'm a moveaholic. Mother,
In no limited time.
no, brother. Mother Tanetta Muhammad. Well, see, I don't have cable TV. I ain't wasting my time, but I do have Netflix. I do have Amazon Prime. I love my movies. But Mother Tanetta Muhammad said in the final call, unveiling the number 19, she said there's scientists in Hollywood and they put the wisdom into the movies. You know, so some people look at movies and they don't even catch it. But when you're on a different level, you look at
Yes,
the
sir.
movie and say, ooh, that's interesting. But the wisdom is interwoven into the movies. And then if you pick up on certain things, let me say this one last thing, just to end with a thought, put a thought on your mind. We all know that based on the tech, aberrations come into existence based on prenatal engrams. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now just follow my logic. This is just something that I was just thinking about a couple of days ago. Now, when the baby is in utero and receives the words and the energy, obviously the baby doesn't understand the language, but the baby has recorded those words and has connected those words with certain frequency of energy, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now later on in life, after the baby learns language, the baby will hear a phrase that will key in that engram, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Right, come on.
Okay, and now there was something that was planted there. The baby heard it. After it learned the language, it keyed in. Then there's the lock. Now the engram is activated, and that produces the dramatization, right? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now this is just a thought. Is it possible? Is it possible? Since we're taught that before we were in the wombs of our mother, Allah knew us, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
Is it possible that Allah planted whatever the opposite of an engram would be? What if Allah, so we could say that the minister said in The Man in the Mission, we all have a purpose, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What if Allah implanted in us before birth certain things, and that there's certain words we have to hear that will turn on these positive programs, as me and Brother Robert
Absolutely
in us. Now, we were told during the 20-year period that we would be taught by the scientists, correct?
That's right.
Okay, now, the minister said that scientists speak using the language of formulae. That was the time of what must be done, the Great War, right?
Yes.
Scientists using the language of formulae. Now, if scientists speak in the language of formulae, and we are to be taught by the scientists, should we not be engaging in the study of mathematics, physics, and science so that the scientists can teach us into the language of the formulae?
Yes, sir, as much as possible.
Or are we waiting on mystery scientists or mystery God to teach us?
No, sir.
Okay. The Most High Elijah Muhammad said, and this is closing the gap, page 312, that, and I'm paraphrasing it, that Allah taught him that when you study the science of the universe and the plant life, the insect life, and the natural laws concerning them, that is the language of a scientist, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Could it be possible that the scientists are waiting to teach us into the formulae but they have to wait for us to begin our study of the formulae so they can teach us into what we're already learning.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
It's just a thought, just a thought. So each one of us here has a field of study that brings us peace. Me, I'll sit with my head in a math book all day, and a pot of coffee and a math book. You won't see me for the rest of the day. That's tone 40 for me. I'm studying math and chemistry and physics. I'm in my peace. That's my peaceful spot. Each one of us has a field that brings us peace. Brother Ahmad, yours might be agricultural science.
You know it.
Okay. Now, is there a lot of mathematics in agriculture?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
So
everywhere.
So agriculture is mathematics, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Based on the law of substitution, can we say, after learning agriculture, which is Islam, and Islam is agricultural,
you better do it.
And you can always prove it, no limited time. But then you have to do what? You must use your agricultural theology in its proper term to do what? Get luxury, money, good homes, and friendships in all walks of life. Our lessons are formulae. All we have to do is input what brings us peace into the formula, and then we will produce the output. Does that make sense?
Beautiful.
All right.
Wonderful.
I'm gonna stop there because I'm starting to get the ghost now, as Sister Cheryl was saying.
Thank you for filling my head with knowledge.
Praise be to Allah. Sister Jacqueline, could you give us the end of session processing, and could we get Brother Salam to close us out in prayer?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Assalamu alaikum, family. Please prepare ourselves for end of session.
Ma'am.
Did someone say something?
Go ahead.
Okay. And we began?
Yes.
Rapidly sketch over the session just ended. Thank you. Sketch over what you have been doing, again with particular attention to how you have been sitting. Begin. Thank you. Go over the period of the session with regard only to what you have been doing with your hands and things in the exterior world you have heard during this session. Begin. Thank you. Fix your attention upon a pleasant object near you now. Begin. Thank you. And family, let's continue to pray for each member participating in this session, our families and the believers, and continue to believe and do good. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Sister Jacqueline.
You're welcome, sir.
Brother Salam, if you would close us out, please.
Yes, sir. Thank you, family. Prayer time. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyaka na'budu wa iyaka nasta'in. Ihdina sirata mustaqim. Sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim. Gayu makdubi alayhim wala dolin. Ameen. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Ku huwallahu ahad. Allahu samad. Lam yalid wa lam yulad wa lam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. Ashhadu la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasulullah. Ameen.
Ameen.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam, family.
Wa alaikum salam. Beautiful prayer. Thank you, brother.
To Allah.